I've been sitting on this bench in Providence for 35 years, and I thought I'd seen everything. Every excuse, every hardship, every moment of human weakness and strength has passed through my courtroom. But what walked through those doors on a Tuesday morning last spring? That stopped me cold. A chief of police, dressed in full uniform, badges gleaming under the fluorescent lights, standing before me not as a colleague in the justice system, but as a defendant. And the look on his face, pure arrogance, like this was all beneath him, like I was beneath him. If you believe that even those who enforce the law must answer to it, hit that subscribe button right now, because what happened next will restore your faith in justice. His name was Chief Robert DeMarco, and he'd racked up 17 parking violations in 6 months. 17, not one or two mistakes. 17 deliberate decisions to park wherever he pleased in our city. The tickets were spread across my desk like a deck of cards, and as I reviewed each one, I could feel my blood pressure rising. Hospital zones, handicapped spaces, fire hydrants, bus stops, places where parking isn't just illegal, it's dangerous, it's selfish, it's everything I've spent my career fighting against. Chief DeMarco, I said, looking up at him over my reading glasses, 17 parking tickets in 6 months. Help me understand this, and he laughed. Not a nervous chuckle or an embarrassed smile, a full, dismissive laugh that echoed through my courtroom. Your Honor, he said, still grinning, with all due respect, I'm the chief of police. I park where I need to park to do my job. These tickets are, frankly, they're a waste of everyone's time. I felt Inspector Quinn shift beside me. I've worked with Quinn for 20 years, and I know every one of his expressions. The tightening of his jaw told me everything. This wasn't going to be simple. Let me ask you something, my friends. What separates a good society from chaos? It's not the laws themselves. It's the belief that those laws apply equally to everyone. Rich or poor, powerful or powerless, we all stand equal before justice. My father came to this country from Italy with nothing but hope and a willingness to work. He taught me that in America nobody is above the law. That's what makes this country special. That's what makes justice mean something. Chief DeMarco, I said slowly, the law doesn't have a badge exemption. Sit down, please. His smile faltered for just a moment, but the arrogance remained. He sat, crossing his arms like a teenager called to the principal's office. Behind him, I noticed a woman in the gallery, mid-50s, nicely dressed, watching him with an expression I couldn't quite read. Disappointment, embarrassment, something deeper. I picked up the first ticket. January 15th, you parked in a handicapped space outside City Hall for 3 hours. The fine is $250, but that's not what concerns me. What concerns me is that Mrs. Patricia Russo, who has MS and uses a wheelchair, had to park 4 blocks away that day because that space, the space reserved for her, was occupied by your vehicle. The courtroom went silent. Chief DeMarco's face remained unchanged, but I saw his jaw tighten. I didn't know anyone needed it, he said flatly. That's exactly the point, I replied. That's why it's reserved. You don't get to decide when someone else needs it. I set that ticket aside and picked up another. February 3rd, fire hydrant. Do you know what happens when firefighters arrive at a scene and can't access their water supply because someone parked illegally? Your Honor, I was responding to a call. Were you? I interrupted gently but firmly, because according to the timestamp on this ticket, you were parked there for 45 minutes, and dispatch has no record of any call in that area that day. His face flushed red. The arrogance was cracking, just slightly, like ice in early spring. If this story is making your heart race, leave a comment below telling me what you would do in my position. And hit that like button if you believe justice means something. I've learned something in 35 years doing this work. When people come into my courtroom, they're usually scared. They're worried about fines they can't afford, consequences they can't handle, judgment they don't deserve. They treat this bench with respect not because of me personally, but because of what it represents. The law, fairness, society's agreement to live together with rules that protect everyone. And when I show them compassion, when I reduce a fine because someone's struggling to feed their kids, or dismiss a ticket because someone was rushing their father to the emergency room, they're grateful, humbled. They understand that mercy is a gift, not an entitlement. But Chief DeMarco wasn't scared. He was annoyed, inconvenienced. And that bothered me more than the tickets themselves. Chief DeMarco, I said, setting down the stack of violations, I want to give you an opportunity to explain yourself. Not excuse, but explain. Is there something going on that I should know about? Some reason why you've accumulated 17 violations in such a short time? He shrugged. Actually shrugged. Your Honor, I'm busy. I run a department of 83 officers. I don't always have time to circle the block looking for legal parking. So you park illegally. I park where I need to park to do my job efficiently. And the mother with 3 kids who can't find parking at the pediatrician's office because you've taken the handicapped spot? She should understand that your time is more valuable than hers? His eyes narrowed. That's not what I said. Then what are you saying? The woman in the gallery, I glanced at her again. She was staring down at her hands, and I could see they were trembling. Something about her presence felt significant, though I couldn't yet understand why. I've always believed that people are good. Fundamentally, at their core, most people are trying their best. They make mistakes. They face pressures we can't see. They carry burdens we can't imagine. My job isn't to punish, it's to help people be better, to give them that second chance my own family received when they came to this country with nothing. But I also believe in accountability, especially for those in power, maybe especially for them. Let me tell you what I see here, I continued. I see a pattern, not mistakes, a pattern, a belief that the rules don't apply to you. And Chief DeMarco, I've got to tell you, that concerns me deeply. You lead officers who write these very tickets every day, officers who face angry citizens who get yelled at, sometimes threatened for doing their jobs and enforcing these laws. What message does it send when their own chief treats those laws like suggestions? Before I tell you what happened next, I need you to share this video with someone who needs to see that justice still matters. This story is going to take a turn you won't believe. For the first time, something shifted in his expression. Not quite shame, not yet, but a crack in the armor. Your Honor, He paused, and I waited. In my experience, the most important words often come after silence, but he didn't continue. He just shook his head slightly and looked away. I pulled out my favorite question, the one I've asked thousands of times. Let me ask you something, Chief. If one of your officers came to you with 17 parking tickets, what would you do? His mouth opened, then closed. The answer was obvious to everyone in that courtroom, including him. I'd discipline them, he finally admitted quietly. Probably suspend them. You'd suspend them, I repeated, because it shows a disregard for the law, because it undermines public trust, because if we enforce the law, we must also follow it. He nodded, and I saw his shoulders slump slightly. The arrogance was draining away, replaced by something else, recognition maybe, or the beginning of it. I glanced at the woman again. She was crying silently now, tears running down her cheeks. And suddenly, I knew. I've seen that look before. A mother watching her child face consequences, loving them but knowing they need to learn. Is that your mother? I asked gently. Chief DeMarco's head snapped up, his eyes widening. Your Honor, please don't. Is she your mother? I repeated more softly this time. Yes, he whispered. I nodded to her. Ma'am, would you please stand? She rose slowly, wiping her eyes with a tissue, her dignity intact despite her tears. She reminded me of my own mother, that same generation that believed in respect, in doing right, in holding your head high even when your heart is breaking. What's your name, ma'am? Rosa DeMarco, Your Honor. Mrs. DeMarco, your son is in some trouble here today. 17 parking tickets, a pattern of believing he's above the law. Do you want to say anything? She looked at her son, and the love in her eyes was unmistakable, but so was the disappointment. Your Honor, she said in a voice thick with emotion and an Italian accent that reminded me so much of my father's, I raised him better than this. His father was a police officer, a good one, who died in the line of duty 20 years ago. He taught our son that the badge is a responsibility, not a privilege. I don't know what happened. I don't know when he forgot. God bless you, I thought, watching her struggle to maintain composure. The weight parents carry for their children's choices, I know it intimately. My own children have given me gray hair and sleepless nights. But there's something about seeing your parents' disappointment that cuts deeper than any judge's lecture ever could. Chief DeMarco's face had gone pale. His hands, previously so casual and dismissive, were now gripping the edge of the defendant's table. The transformation was remarkable. 60 seconds ago, he'd been laughing. Now, watching his mother defend the values she'd instilled in him while acknowledging his failure to honor them, something inside him was breaking. Mom, please sit down, he said hoarsely. No, I interjected. Let her speak. Mrs. DeMarco, please continue. She took a shaky breath. When Robert became chief, I was so proud, so proud. His father would have been proud. But pride doesn't mean you're above the law. It means you set the example. It means you're humble enough to follow the same rules you expect others to follow. If you're moved by what you're seeing here, hit that subscribe button. This channel is about real justice, real humanity, real stories from my courtroom that matter. And share this with someone who needs to remember what integrity looks like. I let her words hang in the air for a moment. The courtroom was absolutely silent except for the quiet sound of Mrs. DeMarco crying. I've learned that sometimes the most powerful verdicts don't come from judges, they come from the people who love us most and dare to tell us the truth. Chief DeMarco, I said finally, look at me. He raised his eyes to mine, and for the first time I saw genuine remorse. The mask was gone. The arrogance had vanished. In its place was a man confronting the gap between who he thought he was and who he'd actually become. Do you understand now why you're here? Really here? Yes, Your Honor, he whispered. Tell me. I want to hear you say it. He swallowed hard. I'm here because I forgot what my father taught me. I forgot what my mother raised me to believe. I let the position go to my head, and I started thinking the rules didn't apply to me. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I nodded slowly. This was the moment, the pivot point where justice meets mercy, where accountability meets redemption. I've been doing this for 35 years, and these moments never get easier. They never become routine, because every case is a human being. Every verdict impacts a life. Every decision I make ripples outward in ways I can't always predict. Here's what I see, I said. I see 17 violations that total $4,250 in fines. If I apply the law strictly, which you know I have every right and reason to do, you'll pay that full amount. Plus, I could add community service. I could notify the city council and recommend disciplinary review. The law gives me those options, and given the pattern here, many judges would exercise them. I paused, watching his face drain of color. His career was on the line, and he knew it. But I also see something else. I see a mother who raised her son with values, who's heartbroken watching him fail to live up to them. I see a man who, for just a moment, forgot where he came from, who forgot that the badge isn't a crown, it's a responsibility, and I see someone who, maybe for the first time today, actually understands that. Mrs. DeMarco was gripping the bench in front of her, her knuckles white. So here's what I'm going to do, I continued. I'm going to fine you the full amount, $4,250. You'll pay it in full within 30 days, and that money will go to programs that serve the very people you endangered with your illegal parking. Accessibility services, fire department training, public transportation improvements. He nodded, relief and pain mixing on his face. But that's not all, I added, and his eyes widened. You're also going to do 100 hours of community service. And not just any community service. You're going to spend every single one of those hours with people affected by illegal parking. You're going to help wheelchair users navigate our city. You're going to attend fire safety seminars. You're going to ride public buses and see what it's like when bus stops are blocked. You're going to meet the people your convenience inconvenienced. Yes, Your Honor, he said, his voice stronger now. And one more thing. I leaned forward slightly. Every month for the next 6 months, you're going to come back here to my courtroom and give me a report. Not about the hours you've served, but about what you've learned, about the people you've met, about how this experience has changed the way you lead your department. Can you do that? Yes, Your Honor, I can, I will. I looked at Mrs. DeMarco. Ma'am, your son is going to be just fine. You raised him with a good foundation. Sometimes we just need to be reminded of it. She nodded, tears flowing freely now, but she was smiling through them. Before I dismissed them, something made me pause. Maybe it was the look in his eyes, genuine now, humbled, open. Maybe it was my own father's voice in my head, reminding me that redemption is always possible if we're willing to do the work. Maybe it was just the Holy Spirit moving in that courtroom, the way it sometimes does when human beings connect in authentic ways. Chief DeMarco, I said quietly, come here for a moment. He approached the bench tentatively, and I stood up, which I rarely do. I came around and stood before him, this man who'd walked in so arrogant and was now so thoroughly humbled. I want to tell you something, I said softly, just between us, though the courtroom could hear. Your father would be proud of you today, not for the tickets, those were wrong, and you know it, but for being willing to face the truth when your mother spoke it, for being willing to change. That takes courage, real courage, the kind your father had. His eyes filled with tears, and for a moment I thought he might break down completely. Instead, he extended his hand, and I shook it firmly. Thank you, Your Honor, he managed. I won't let you down. I won't let my mother down, and I won't let my father's memory down. I know you won't. Now go home, hug your mother, and get to work becoming the chief this city deserves. If you're still watching, comment below and tell me, would you have been tougher or more lenient? And hit that like button if you believe people can change when they're held accountable with love. As they left my courtroom, Chief DeMarco walking beside his mother, his arm around her shoulders, I sat back down at the bench and took a deep breath. Inspector Quinn looked at me with that expression I've come to recognize over 2 decades of working together. That was something, he said quietly. That was necessary, I replied. Justice without mercy is cruelty, but mercy without accountability is meaningless. 3 months later, I got a letter. Chief DeMarco had completed 60 of his 100 hours, and his monthly reports had been remarkable. He'd implemented a new integrity training program for his entire department. He'd met with disability rights advocates and partnered with them to improve accessibility enforcement. He'd attended a fire where illegal parking had delayed response time by precious minutes, and the experience had shaken him to his core. But the part of the letter that moved me most was this. Your Honor, my mother asked me to tell you that she prays for you every night. She says you gave her son back to her, but I want you to know something. You gave me back to myself. You reminded me why I became a police officer in the first place. Not for power, not for prestige, but to serve, to protect, to make my community better and safer for everyone. I was lost, and I didn't even know it until you made me see it. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for believing that even someone who'd strayed so far could find their way back. I keep that letter in my desk drawer, and sometimes when I'm tired, when I've had a long day of cases and people and problems that seem overwhelming, I take it out and read it again. Because it reminds me why I do this work. It reminds me that justice isn't about punishment. It's about restoration. It's about helping people become who they're meant to be. My father used to say, Francesco, every person you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind. Always be kind. But he also taught me that kindness doesn't mean letting people escape consequences. Real kindness, the kind that actually helps, holds people accountable while offering them a path forward. It says, you made a mistake, but you're not your mistake. You can do better, and I'm going to help you get there. 6 months after that initial hearing, Chief DeMarco came to my courtroom for his final report. He'd completed all 100 hours of community service. He'd paid his fine in full, but more than that, he'd changed. I could see it in the way he carried himself, still confident, but with a humility that hadn't been there before, still authoritative, but with a servant's heart. Your Honor, he said, standing before me one last time, I brought someone with me today, if that's okay. Of course. A young woman in a wheelchair rolled into the courtroom. She couldn't have been more than 25, with bright eyes and a warm smile. This is Jennifer, Chief DeMarco said. She's one of the people I met during my community service. On January 15th, the day I parked in that handicapped space outside City Hall, Jennifer was the person who needed it. She had a job interview that day. She had to park 4 blocks away in the cold and rain, and by the time she got to her interview, she was soaked and exhausted. She didn't get the job. My heart sank. Jennifer, I'm so sorry. She smiled, though, this beautiful young woman with such grace. Your Honor, I didn't come here for an apology. I came here to tell you that what you did mattered. Chief DeMarco has spent the last 6 months working with our disability rights organization. He's changed parking enforcement protocols. He's increased accessibility compliance throughout the city. And last week, he hired me as his department's first accessibility liaison officer. I felt my eyes burning with tears. God bless you, I thought, looking at both of them. This is what justice looks like. This is what redemption looks like. Chief DeMarco has taught me something, Jennifer continued. He's taught me that people can change, that mistakes don't define us, how we respond to them does. And Your Honor, you taught both of us that the justice system isn't just about punishment. It's about making things right, about healing, about becoming better. I couldn't speak for a moment. In 35 years, I've seen a lot of outcomes, a lot of endings to cases. But this was special. Jennifer, I finally said, you're going to be wonderful in that position. And Chief DeMarco, you fulfilled your obligation to this court, but more importantly, you fulfilled the promise you made to yourself and your mother. You're dismissed from further reporting requirements. Go do good work. Before they left, Mrs. DeMarco appeared at the courtroom door, and the look she gave me, pure gratitude, pure joy, was worth more than any salary I've ever earned. My friends, if this story touched your heart, I want you to do something for me. Subscribe to this channel so you can see more stories from my courtroom. Share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that justice and mercy can coexist. And leave a comment telling me about a time when someone gave you a second chance, or when you gave someone else one. Because these stories matter. These moments of human connection and redemption, they're what make life worth living. I've been asked many times why I do what I do, why I take the time to listen to stories, to look beyond the violation to the person standing before me, to find creative solutions that serve justice while showing mercy. The answer is simple, because someone once did it for my family. When my father came to this country, people gave him chances he didn't technically deserve. They saw past the accent, past the poverty, past the immigrant status to the human being trying to build a better life. and their compassion changed the trajectory of our entire family. I'm sitting on this bench not because I'm better than anyone else, but because I was given opportunities. And if I can use this position to give others those same opportunities, to help them become better versions of themselves, to show them that one mistake doesn't define a lifetime, then every difficult decision, every long day, every challenging case is worth it. Chief DeMarco walked into my courtroom laughing at the idea that the law applied to him. He walked out understanding that the law applies to all of us, but so does grace, so does redemption, so does the possibility of change. That's not weakness. That's not being soft on crime or letting people off easy. That's being tough enough to hold people accountable while being compassionate enough to help them rise to the occasion. That's understanding that we're all broken in different ways, and we all need someone to believe in us when we've stopped believing in ourselves. So here's what I want you to take away from this story. Whether you're the chief of police or someone struggling to pay a parking ticket, whether you're powerful or powerless, whether you've made one mistake or 1,000, you are not beyond redemption. You can change, you can do better, you can become the person you were meant to be. But it starts with humility. It starts with being willing to hear the truth, even when it's painful. It starts with understanding that the rules do apply to you, that your actions affect other people, that your choices matter. And once you understand that, really understand it, then the real work of becoming better can begin. I've been doing this for 35 years, and I'll tell you something I've learned. The people who change aren't the ones who never make mistakes. They're the ones who, when confronted with their mistakes, have the courage to face them honestly and the determination to do better. Chief DeMarco was one of those people. Jennifer was one of those people, and you can be too. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other. Hold each other accountable, but do it with love. And remember, justice without mercy is just punishment, but mercy without accountability is just enabling. Real justice, the kind that actually heals and transforms, requires both. Now, before you go, I want to hear from you. What would you have done in my position? Was I too tough, too lenient? Tell me in the comments. And stay tuned, because next week I'm going to tell you about the day a young mother came into my courtroom with 5 children, 2 parking tickets, and a story that reminded me why I'll never retire. You won't want to miss it. Take care of yourself. God bless you.